Well, so it's kind of funny for a car show, which what drives us is basically about at least electric vehicles, to go, hey, have you thought about not having a car at all? Just kind of no to the car. Uh, in Bloomberg City Lab, we've got a great article from Beth Osborne, the Director of Transportation for America, and Ben Holland, the Senior Associate at Rocky Mountain Institute, Senior Associate for Rocky Mountain Institute's Urban Transformation Team. So basically, he focuses on city planning. And to sum it all up, because it's a bit long and goes in depth in a few things, we're still not hitting our marks if we switch to electric vehicles. So if we really want to curb our emissions, we kind of have to do a bunch of different things. And that includes building for the possibility of not having a car at all. And that is honestly, everything they're talking about is actually good in multiple other ways that we don't really think about when we just talk about electric vehicles, because how we live is critical to whether or not where we live is cutting down on those emissions. And if we actually have to do things like, I don't know, instead of extending highways and doing, big expansions of our current road systems, we actually fix the ones we have right now, which are in terrible shape. Right there, that's a jobs building program. And when we talk about building places to live, there's a lot of infill that most cities and municipalities, most counties can actually work with, as opposed to just kind of sprawling out and creating more and more developments where everybody's got a giant home on postage stamp land and it's more and more removed from transit centers and from key shopping areas. And while we're on it about shopping areas, instead of localized massive areas to shop in, like malls or even the California, as I consider it, the California roadside mini mall, where you go every 2 blocks and there's like a whole conglomeration of businesses and restaurants, and that's it. And then somewhere over there off on side streets or homes, well, maybe something a little bit more integrated. So if you're from New York, and if you know this mall, you don't have to drive all the way out to Long Island to go to a shopping center to get something. We're talking more about local businesses. And what's funny is these are old ideas. And we're talking about the ways how they actually benefit us to create a new future here. But we've never done it. We've kind of, going back to our first story, we've always kind of listened to the businesses and the builders who say, no, 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 we should have a special zoned area and you're just going to, it'll be okay. You don't need public transport. We're going to get into a car. You're going to buy your own car. You never have to wait for anything, and you're going to drive to where you need to. Um, so I really liked how they lay it out with the additional funding from the Biden administration to support our currently struggling transportation, but also changing how we fund transportation programs in cities. So it's a little bit funded more like how we fund highways. This this has a lot of good ideas in it. Now the question is, can we get any of that in active policy? And the positive side of that is they mirror this with our current Transportation Secretary Buttigieg. Hopefully I said that right. But his South Bend program has a lot of good parts that we could expand on nationally. So I think there's a good chance that we're going to see some movement towards these kinds of no car policy movements for cities and states. But as always, can it pass? Can it pass muster in the House and in the Senate? Is it going to need to be a law, or can we just do it as these are directives that are internal and we incentivize that way with funding plans and everything else? So hopefully Infrastructure Week in America will actually be infrastructure related instead of yet another disaster that we've come to
Yes.
associate Infrastructure Week with for the past 4 years. It's really good stuff. So I encourage everybody to go through and read that article. What do you guys think about giving up that Tesla?
Well, I mean, we need to like they've already been doing. We need to replace anything that we're going to keep with an electric car. And then, like you said, we don't need as many cars as we have. But not just cars. Our buses. There's no reason for your mail truck to be only 10% electric. All the mail trucks need to be electric, and all your buses should be electric. And your
Okay,
cruise
I'm
ships
just
should
gonna
have
say-
sails on them. I mean, we just need not cruise ships, but the freaking.
But that's
we shouldn't have any cruise ships,
exactly
but the,
Right.
the fleet ships. Yeah.
opposite of the point Georgia was making.
No, because you need less of all of them, but whatever's left should be electric. Or
Okay,
sails.
yeah,
Well,
so
we
that's
could- we
table
could just have-
stakes.
That's it. We could just
Yeah.
use our Nimbus motorcycle thing. And, you know,
The Nimbus
and-
2000, wasn't that one of the
Right.
brooms in Harry Potter? We could all just fly around and
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
Bicycles.
Hey.
More bicycles.
I do see a problem with this, the fact that it's already spread out so far already for so long. So you've got what
Yeah.
percentage of the population are already living in homes in subdivisions that are outside of the busing areas. There is no standardized busing area that's big enough to handle the amount of people in these far off subdivisions. So they're going to have to sell their houses to move to a more urban dense area. There's a lot of issues with it because we've let it go so long in the builder's direction, and there's
But
going
is
to
this-
be it's
is
going
this
to
a
be
world?
difficult to rule to pull people back into a more sustainable living pattern.
But is this a world problem or just North America, Australia, and
It
North
really
America and Australia?
depends because I'm going to also say, again, I've sat through a lot of these meetings. NIMBYism,
Mm.
getting public transportation to these spread out areas is often couched in, okay, I'm going to say it, systemic racism, because you don't want to have those people coming to your area. I've lived in Alameda. You have no idea how often they wanted to lift up the drawbridge because that leads into Oakland, and those Oakland people come through and drive down Park Street and to head to our mall because it's the only grocery store in the area that they can get to easily with a car. And that affects the fact that when you head out to certain other parts of town, and even in my Northern California area, people don't want to have accessibility because having a car means that you have the right economic means to be in their space. Now that doesn't make you any better of a person. It doesn't make you any less likely to steal or to be violent or anything else, but still, that's why we don't have spread out public transportation.
Yeah, I lived
I
car free
wanted-
for 7 years. And then I moved to the suburbs, and that was just no longer an option.
yeah. See, I want to get in my 2 cents on this. 2 points, 1 cent each. Like Mark said, we have allowed the diversification to go on for so long. Now we would be asking people to give it up. Nobody likes to give up something that they already have. Secondly, I read an article a very long time ago from the U.S. Green Building Association, that was talking about the adoption of LED lights and energy efficient appliances. And as people adopted more energy efficient appliances, they used them more because they were more energy efficient. So now we're replacing internal combustion engines with electric vehicles and telling people these electric vehicles are 100 times more efficient than your internal combustion engine. They're cheaper to fuel, they're cheaper to maintain. So people are going to be more likely to drive more miles in them, which means they're not going to feel so bad being one occupant in a 4-seat vehicle. That's
Yeah,
where I see this going.
It's a
Dave
common
Hunt's
story. People buy a
paradox.
Tesla and they do 40,000 miles in their first year.
It's a Diet Coke syndrome where people
Yeah.
drink diet sodas and then consume more calories because I drank a diet soda. I know it seems like a joke, but it is a proven phenomenon. So yeah,
Yeah.
human nature. It's the first thing we got to deal with and the last thing.